Hello everybody, Global Warming Skeptic here, and we're just going to make this a new series called Secular Bullshit. Now, let's hear what Kyle has to say about crime rate. Now see, I guess I'll give you a little bit of context. I am from a high crime rate city in Toledo, just south of Detroit, so I think I'd know a little bit about this, but let's hear what Kyle has to say, hear his solutions.
Crime rates. So, how do you actually go about reducing crime? Well, there are some very simple answers to that. So, first of all, you do gun reform. Now, usually people say, well, I mean, come on, Chicago already has tough gun laws and they already have incredibly high gun crime. Yeah, that's true, but what's the problem? The problem isn't those gun laws. The problem is that in the fucking neighboring states, they have lax gun laws, so people go right next door, get the guns, and then come back in. So
Okay, so let's run with that logic. The reason why Chicago's gun crime rate is so high is because people go out of state to get the guns. Now, using that logic, you would think that those neighboring states would have higher gun homicide rates, right? After all, if that's the problem, then those states should have an even bigger problem with gun crime, right? This is a graphic of gun murder rate compared to household gun ownership. There is no correlation at all, none, between gun ownership and gun crime. And you can even take this to an international level. And in fact, here I can pull up another source for you guys. We're going to look at something quick. I've already brought this up in previous. Oh, I'm derping right now. Okay, so go to bookmarks. See if I can find my. Okay, gun death rate. I believe this is it. Yep, Washington Post. Yeah, this is. Oh, this is the wrong one. Let me look. We'll get it eventually. Oh, okay. Here we go. I think this is it. Yeah, here we go. We're gonna look at something now. We're gonna sort this by rank. Actually, no, let's do this by, because there's a lot of places that don't keep track, so we'll see. Total homicides. Okay, here we go. Homicides per 100K. Now, pay a special attention to the ranking here, because this is listed by ranking of gun homicides. Look at where these countries rank in gun ownership. 88, 92, 74, 59, 49, 129, 91, 62, 75, 50, 99, 26, 98, 142, 45, 42, 105, 37, 77. Now you notice a pattern here. Now, yes, the United States is fairly high on this list, but it's an outlier. The United States is one of the very few high gun owning countries where there is a high gun crime rate. See, Uruguay's up at 9, and then you kind of get in the mediocres, and then you start seeing a few of the higher ranked ones, and then you get to the Europeans. Now, I plotted this correlation before. I'm not going to go through the laborious task of doing it again. But there is a very weak correlation, but there is a correlation between lack of gun ownership ranking and gun crime. A lot of that can be attributed to development, but let me just say this, in the very least, there's no correlation between gun ownership and gun crime. See, we're running into the same problem. It's the drugs, right? That's what we said in the 1970s through the 1990s. It was the drugs. And in fact, it was actually one of the leading issues in the 1988 election, I believe, was the issue of drugs. And people blame the drugs, and it turned out that it's not the drugs themselves, it was the selling of drugs that increased all the crime. Because that's what creates the black market, that's what creates all the organized crime, and that's what they fuel off of. And so, imagine that with guns. You're not going to reduce gun crime. Guns are not difficult to manufacture. Especially crude guns. Crude guns that put people in agony before they kill them. There's a lot of guns that'll kill you instantly, but you get a crudely made gun, that's going to stick. But anyhow, let's listen to what else Kyle has to say. I haven't listened beyond here, but I can already tell this is going to be good. So let's hear it.
So they act like, see, it proves gun laws are bad. No, the problem is that in the surrounding areas, gun laws are lax. So if you had gun reform at a federal level, where, for example, you had universal background checks, you limited high-capacity magazines, you know, you do basic reform, obviously that'll help, and that'll take down gun crime specifically. You know, if you do jobs programs, so for example, we have our infrastructure gets a grade of D-. If you go into these big cities and give people jobs and give them an opportunity to get out of poverty, well then a lot of them are going to...
And where are we going to get the money to pay for that, Kyle? You understand that this is $1 trillion job, cleaning up infrastructure. We have money locked up everywhere right now. So where's the money to pay for this? That's my question to you. You know, it's easy to say, well, let's get them in public works projects. Yeah, where are you going to get that many people to work with the money that would be required? It's not going to happen, Kyle. You're not going to do it with big government programs, with government giving jobs. It does not work. It didn't work in the 1930s, and it's not going to work now. You're not going to do anything for the people.
to take it. Not all of them, but many of them are going to take it, and then you're going to have a reduction in crime. Typically, the better people do economically, the less likely it is they're going to commit crime. And then also there's drug reform. For example, if you end the drug war, if you at the very least decriminalize drugs, but it'd be better if you legalize, tax, and regulate drugs, well then what happens? All of the gang violence associated with drug use and drug sales, gone. It goes away. How do I know? Look at what happened with alcohol. When alcohol was illegal, who got really powerful? The mafia. Why did they get really powerful? They sold the alcohol. They had a monopoly on it. So you're giving them more money, more power, more strength, and then more crimes are going to happen. Because
okay, listen to Kyle's logic here. See, he understands the drug war fine. That's easy for him to get. But what he doesn't get is that you're going to get this same problem with guns. If you restrict access to guns, instead of regulating them, guess what? Those same people are going to sell those guns, and a lot of them already do. They sell illegal modifications. That's where a lot of them make that money. Kyle, it's like, on a lot of these issues, he understands half of it, but he can't get past his own liberal bias. Anything that does not offer free stuff to somebody, or does not put some tax and regulation on the rich, he does not get. And he cannot get because he's stuck in his own world, his own bias.
you can't go to court and sue wearing a suit and tie when your business is illegal, so you solve every dispute with guns. Same thing with drugs. So if you legalize, tax, and regulate drugs, the gun violence and the gang violence drops tremendously. So these are things that you actually do. How many of those things does Donald Trump want to do? None of them. None of them. What does he want to do instead? You get tough. You get tough.
Trump has talked about the war on drugs, I believe. But anyhow, I think secular bullshit here has said enough. I don't think he's got anything else to say, so we're just going to end this here. Thanks for listening. God bless, and don't listen to this fucking liar. Thanks for listening.